Everybody lock in on the reaction. This is why Fortnite Save the World died. Here we go.
Epic killed their most promising game to create Fortnite Battle Royale. While it seemed to come out of nowhere, becoming an overnight success, Fortnite as we know it had a long development cycle full of delays and controversial decisions. One of these decisions was to pull the plug on a game that Epic had been working on for...
Another decision they pulled the plug on is making it free. I remember when the Battle Royale part of Fortnite had recently released and they were like, oh yeah, we're going to make Save the World free by year, I don't know, 2018. And that never happened. Never became free.
Nearly 9 years to focus on the more popular and more monetizable Battle Royale game mode. But the game they killed, called Fortnite Save the World...
And it's not like they couldn't even afford to make it free. Their Battle Royale made so much money. I don't know. I honestly don't know what would have kept them from making it free. Because if they got Battle Royale making a bunch of money, they make another free game, Save the World, and there's microtransactions in that, it's just, it would have been another avenue of making money for them. I don't know why they never made it free.
Was extremely promising, and it had the potential to redefine co-op gaming with its unique blend of base building, PvE missions, and creative freedom. By abandoning Save the World, Epic traded their innovative vision for immediate mass appeal, but in doing so, they swept away a passionate community in a game that could have been so much more. What led to this decision? Let's dive into how one of gaming's most interesting projects was sacrificed for the rise of Battle Royale. This is how Fortnite Save the World died. Before Epic Games became synonymous with the Battle Royale game that every 9-year-old has grown to love, the studio had already established itself as a formidable force in the gaming industry. Founded in 1991 by Tim Sweeney, Epic initially made its mark with the Unreal Engine technology that would power countless games across the industry. However, it was their work on the Gears of War franchise that truly put them on the map as a premier game developer. Gears of War was published by Microsoft Game Studio.
I remember playing Gears of War with my brother because they had like the co-op, couch gameplay that you could do split screen. That was so peak. Gears of Mid. Oh my God. Yo, that's nuts. That's actually 10 out of 10 rage bait. That's crazy. Oh my gosh. Nah, that's actually diabolical. Dude, sitting on the couch with my brother playing Gears of War. That's like probably top 10 childhood memory right there. Anywho.
And released on November 7th, 2006. This third-person shooter was revolutionary at the time, and having the support of Microsoft as a publisher, Epic was able to achieve massive success with the game, generating over $100 million in revenue. Gears of War 2 in 2008 and Gears of War 3 in 2011 continued to print money for the company, each building upon the franchise's core mechanics while expanding the universe and refining.
Unfortunately, Gears of War fell off. I think they either released a recent Gears of War or they're going to, but as far as, where Gears of War is right now, it's a far cry from where it was, for sure.
The multiplayer experience. These ended up being some of the best third-person shooter games ever made. But we can stop here where we don't have to mention the ones that came afterwards. After the release of these massively successful titles, Epic Games found itself at a crossroads. They could have gone back and made 88 more Gears of War games and Microsoft would have been extremely happy. But they'd always been an innovative company, and believe it or not, pumping out garbage to extract money from hardcore fans isn't ideal when you actually care about your games. So they decided to look towards the future. The industry was beginning to shift towards live service models, and Epic recognized the need to diversify beyond these traditional single-player and multiplayer experiences. It was time for something new. It was time for Fortnite Save the World. But before we dive into how Epic would go on to kill their coolest game in years, the game began in development under the simple title Fortnite, before later being rebranded to Fortnite Save the World when the Battle Royale counterpart launched in 2017. But for the sake of simplicity, we're going to continue calling it Save the World for this video. The first trailer came out in December of 2011 at the VGA Awards, showcasing what Save the World, again just called Fortnite at the time, was aiming to be. And while knowing the insane levels of success with Fortnite as we know it today, you'd probably assume that this game was also extremely popular from the start, but it really wasn't. The trailer posted on their official YouTube channel only had a few tens of thousands of views for years following its release. It didn't get popular until Fortnite Battle Royale launched and players discovered the origins of their new favorite game.
Looking back at this trailer, the players are so bad. Like maybe at the time it was like, oh yeah, this is some average gameplay. The players are dog at the game. I don't know. Mainly, okay, usually gameplay footage is like scripted, so it would be passable. But if this is not scripted, these people did not even play their own game. These people look terrible.
So in short, the project was actually relatively small. Work began in early 2012 with a budget that was significantly smaller than the massive AAA projects that Epic had become known for. The team still had over 75 developers.
Imagine seeing Peterbot in 2017, 2018.
Developers assigned to it, including veterans from the Gears of War series, so the project size wasn't completely negligible, but it was a far cry from the polished AAA experiences like Gears of War. The first 2 years of development were marked by constant iteration and fundamental changes. The original dark, serious tone seen in the trailer was one of the first elements to be reconsidered.
Okay. Take a step back here. If they leaned into a darker kind of survivalish game, I think that could have done really well. Especially if you have veterans coming over from Gears of War, they have the experience in the darker setting and the darker tone, and you can package that with package that with Battle Royale for the people who don't want the darker setting and the darker survival. I think a horror-ish kind of survival game like Save the World could have been a banger. But I digress.
Focus testing showed that younger players found the realistic art style off-putting, while
And then they go to Battle Royale. Easy money.
older players felt it was too similar to other zombie games.
Oh, well.
So the team at Epic decided to adopt a more stylized, cartoon-like aesthetic. And this decision, seemingly unimportant at the time...
Like, what other games would be like Save the World? I don't think there's any game out there that I could think of that is like Save the World. Where you go out... I mean, there's other survival games, but... to what Save the World became, I don't really see anything comparable.
Would go on to be the catalyst that would cause Save the World and eventually Fortnite Battle Royale to become the massive success story that it is today. One of the most challenging aspects of development was the building system. The original prototype used a simple grid-based system similar to Minecraft, but Epic wanted something more sophisticated. The team went through no fewer than 7 different building systems between 2012 and 2014. And in March of 2014, Epic made a decision that would both enhance and complicate the project even further, transitioning from Unreal Engine 3 to Unreal Engine 4. This wasn't just a graphics upgrade, it meant rebuilding significant portions of the game from scratch. The transition took nearly 9 months, and it would inevitably cost the company millions of dollars, but it gave the team access to better tools and more modern features. This meant dealing with new bugs and optimization challenges, and also dealing with frustrations from staff members who had already spent years building out the game in the previous version of Unreal. Because of this, Fortnite Save the World would quickly become a much larger project than Epic had originally anticipated, and the development costs were adding up faster than expected. It was at the point where Epic needed this project to be a success, but could they deliver? The game launched in early access on July 25th, 2017, and Epic's ambitious attempt to blend multiple popular genres into a cohesive, innovative experience paid off. At its core, Save the World was designed as a...
Did it pay off? I'm interested to hear the numbers. But when it came to, hey, let's hop on Fortnite, it was always Battle Royale. It was never Save the World. Like, I don't think I saw nearly as many Save the World content creation as I did the Battle Royale. I mean, the Battle Royale just absolutely exploded
cooperative survival game that combined elements of tower defense, third-person
This is all
shooting, and
unks
base
that
building
play.
mechanics with a cool cartoon art style
Save
and
the world.
lots of bells and
Fire.
whistles. In the game, your goal was to work together with other players to survive in a post-apocalyptic world overrun by zombie-like creatures called husks. You scavenged for resources during the day, built elaborate fortifications, and defended them against waves of enemies during intense nighttime sieges. It was cool, and it was unlike any other game on the market. The early access version of the game was actually...
Okay, it's unlike any game on the market, yet earlier in the video, playtesters said that it was too similar to other games. You have this game with a slightly darker tone. What game is there like that? There's none. So, little weird on the playtester side there. I think they led Epic astray here.
Priced quite high at $39.99 for the full experience. But it wouldn't stay this way for long because Epic announced that it would eventually become free to play for all players after the early access period with a target of sometime in 2018. But even at $40, it was worth the price because of the way the game...
Worth the price for $40? I don't even know if the replayability was there. I don't know. For $40, it was kind of more like a $20 game. Save the world. Got to keep it frank.
Relied on genuine teamwork. When you went into a mission in Fortnite Save the World, you had to actually strategize with your teammates. You had to plan defenses, ration your resources, and build bases that would set you up for success. And doing this with random people, well, let me tell you, it wasn't easy. You had to work together really kept the game feeling fresh, and it brought me and countless others back on a regular basis. In fact, Save the World sold over 500,000 copies through digital pre-orders and surpassed 1 million players by August of 2017. It was pretty much an instant success, and it was only going to get better with regular updates that would come over the following months as Save the World evolved into something truly special. But it was by no means perfect, and in fact, the game had a very controversial feature, loot boxes, or better yet, loot llamas, in a game that cost $30 to buy.
Yeah, but like, Overwatch had that. Overwatch costed money and had loot boxes. Rocket League costed money and had loot boxes. CSGO costed money and had loot boxes. So, yeah, it was controversial, but so many other games were doing it. I guess that doesn't make it right, but...
It's one thing to monetize a free-to-play game through gambling, but doing so in a game that costs a considerable amount of money and is in early access
Also, why did he just say it costed $30 when earlier it was $40? Which is it? Which is it, buckaroo?
Much worse. And not to mention, these loot boxes didn't only provide cosmetics, but they actually gave you entire weapons, heroes, and other items that helped your progression in the game. It was pay to win, and the gambling mechanics were not a good look. And the reviews, well, they could be better too. IGN's review summed it up well. Fortnite has all the pieces to be something special, but they don't quite fit together yet. Again, it had a lot of potential, but it would need regular updates to reach it. So players were looking forward to seeing what this game would become in the following months or years. But for now, Epic had other things on the radar. See, around this time in July of 2017, PUBG was dominating the gaming world with nearly 10 million copies sold. It was time for Epic.
It's crazy that PUBG dominated the market and then Fortnite swept in and absolutely obliterated it, because I know so many people that didn't play PUBG, but they played Fortnite. Like, PUBG costed money. So if we're, the fact that Fortnite went free, honestly, propelled it so much more than PUBG did. If PUBG was free off the get-go, they probably would have been more popular than Fortnite. Well, maybe not, because Fortnite has more of a kid-friendly style. So PUBG would have not gotten obliterated, though, for sure.
To capitalize on the growing Battle Royale trend, so in just 2 months, a small team of developers used Save the World's assets and building mechanics to create a spin-off Battle Royale mode. The building mechanics that had been designed for cooperative base defense were reimagined as tools for individual survival and combat. The colorful, cartoonish art style that had distinguished Save the World.
What's the most OG skin everyone has in the chat? My most OG skin on my Fortnite account? Let me think. It's gotta be something from season 2. I have a snowflake I have a snowflake glider. I didn't buy anything until season 3. I bought the season 3 battle pass, but I have the season 2 snowflake glider on my PS4. I'm an OG.
World from its more realistic competitors helped it to stand out in the Battle Royale space as well. So, Fortnite Battle Royale was born. On September 26, 2017, Epic Games released Fortnite Battle Royale as a free-to-play standalone.
Nobody uses that. Who does that? Who pre-edits their wall to be a half wall? That's crazy.
The timing was perfect. PUBG had proven the market demand, but its absolutely atrocious performance and premium price point left room for a more accessible alternative. And Fortnite Battle Royale, with its free-to-play model and unique building mechanics, was the game that everyone wanted. Within 2 weeks of launch, it had attracted over 20 million players, making it the fastest growing game in history. And oh boy,
that's crazy. 20 million players in 2 weeks. I don't even, how, that is an absolute absurd amount of growth. Like, it just had to be the perfect storm, because no way the word gets out that fast. Like, I think so everyone just had to have been looking for a new game at that point.
Boy, did people love the microtransactions in this one. There was an entire store with skins, emotes, and all sorts of other goodies that allowed players to express themselves and show their lack of skill by compensating with a cool skin. Not that I ever did that. Not that I spent hundreds of dollars in cosmetics in Fortnite.
I think the Mako glider.
Players to express themselves and show their lack of skill.
Where's it up? Mako glider right there. I think that's the Mako glider. My brother has that. He has the Mako glider. Pretty OG.
Compensating with a cool skin.
You know what's crazy? I showed my brother. I showed him Fortnite, and he spent more money on the game, like, initially than I did. Like, he bought season 2 battle pass, so he got all the way up to Dark Knight. So he got the season 2 battle pass tier whatever skin, the final skin. He got the Mako glider, and he has a bunch of other rare cosmetics like the AC/DC and whatnot. But I'll tell you guys a story about my experience with first few games of Fortnite. First few games of Fortnite, I had no idea where to land. I landed at one of those single towers that they had around the map. Let's go ahead and give it a look. Oh, one of these. First few games, I think like the first game or first 2 games, I landed at one of these because I was scared to go to the big POIs. And this had a gun in it, like both times I went. So my brother came down later and he was like, "What are you playing?" And I'm like, "I'm playing Fortnite." He's like, "Oh, let me try." Okay. And he's like, "Where do I land?" I said, "Oh, land at one of these towers. It always gives you a gun." He's like, "Okay." He lands there and there's no gun. He's like, "What the heck?" I'm like, "I don't know, dude. Usually there's a gun. How about you run over to the house that's over here and there may be a gun there." And he runs over to the house. There's no gun, but there is a player, and my brother dies to the player. And he's like, "Dude, you gave me terrible advice." I'm like, "I don't know, man. I just started playing the game." And I can actually show you guys on the map, on the Fortnite map, where I remember it so vividly, where he landed and what happened. Fortnite map season 1. So it's a little blurry, but he landed right here. If you guys can see my mouse. Yeah, you can. He landed right here. That's where I told him to land. The house he ran over to was this house right here. He died at that house. So yeah, that was my brother's first game of Fortnite. I don't remember my first game of Fortnite, but I remember his. You know, let's get back to it.
Not that I ever did that. Not that I spent hundreds of dollars in cosmetics in Fortnite before I even had my first victory royale.
I don't even know how much money I spent on Fortnite. I would have to guess probably around maximum $200. And I remember I didn't buy anything before my first win though. I bought it way after. But I remember those top Top 3 situations, dude, I was shaking. Controller in my hand, I was nervous. I was freaking out because, I mean, I'm bad at the game. I want to get my first win. And it was just so stressful getting to the top 3, top 2 situation. And my first win, I didn't even earn properly. My first win, I'm in a tower because that was the meta at the time. I think this was season 2. I got my first win. Yeah, because I have the snowflake glider. Or maybe it was season 1. I don't remember. But the tower meta was a thing. The myth tower meta, where you just make a tower and you sit in it. Made myself a tower. I'm sitting in it. And the circle is getting smaller and smaller. And I don't see the guy. I have no idea where he is. And eventually the game just ends. And it says, #1 victory royale across my screen. And this dude died in the storm. I don't know how many kills I got that game, but I literally did not earn the win because that dude just up and died in the storm. That was my first ever victory royale. And you already know, when I was gripping the controller, these were my hands. I'm gripping the controller, but I was so locked in. Anywho, back to it.
I'd never do that. But yeah, this game was a success like Epic had never seen before, and the money was rolling in. So of course, resources were shifted away from Save the World and into this new, more profitable endeavor. As 2018 rolled around, Save the World started to receive fewer and fewer updates. The free-to-play release was supposed to come, but as the year rolled on, it kept getting pushed to the wayside until it was announced in October that the release was supposed to come in 2019 instead. And throughout this entire time frame, the controversy and criticisms surrounding the loot box mechanics in Save the World continued to intensify. Again, this was a paid game with intense amounts of pay-to-win microtransactions, so it isn't surprising that people were upset. However, it didn't stop people from playing the game. The $40 Founders Pack that was originally aimed at getting people to support the small, scrappy Save the World Early Access project now included special skins and perks in Battle Royale as well, such as the Founder's Glider and some other cosmetic items. People were absolutely crazed for these skins. A lot of new players purchased this Founders Pack as Battle Royale continued to grow. So, by October of 2018, when this delay to free-to-play was announced, Save the World had somehow managed to amass more than 17 million players, and many people were willing to spend $40 on Battle Royale cosmetics just to get access to an additional game that they probably wouldn't even play that much. So of course, for Epic, it was a no-brainer to keep Save the World as a paid experience, even with the decrease in updates. They were making a lot of money from it. But the updates were slowing down drastically as more and more resources continued to be shifted towards Battle Royale and its seemingly endless growth. Players started to get frustrated, seeing that the game that they had paid money for to support in early access was being pushed aside for more profitable endeavors. The promise of an eventual free-to-play launch kept getting postponed, and by mid-2019, it was still a paid experience. Epic did finally make the loot boxes a little better by turning them into X-ray llamas, which showed the exact contents of the llama before deciding whether to purchase it in early 2019. But this was mainly to just quell legal concerns and did nothing to improve the game or the overall Save the World experience. When Battle Royale received in-game events like the destruction of Dusty Depot and literal concerts with
That was peak Fortnite. Oh my gosh. The live events, the Rocket, Dusty Depot, like the concert, Travis Scott concert, those events were so peak. I remember I watched the Rocket event live and I had such a bad angle at it because I think I jumped out of the bus too early. And by the time like the event started, I'm already on the ground watching the rocket fly around, and I missed like half of it because of where I was standing. Like the rocket was out of view like half the time because of the mountains that I was surrounded by. Anyhow,
the virtual versions of celebrities, Save the World players were left with increasingly long gaps between meaningful updates. The promised storyline remained incomplete, new content was sparse, and many of the game's persistent bugs and balance issues went unaddressed for months. As 2020 rolled around, the game still remained pay-to-play through these Founders Pack purchases, and in June, it was announced that Save the World would be leaving early access as promised, but it still wouldn't be free. The game would now be sold in Save the World starter packs, which included cosmetics, V-Bucks, quests, and the Save the World campaign itself, priced between $16 and $20 depending on if there were any sales or not. And best of all, the game would no longer be getting any new updates either. So it wasn't free, it wasn't finished, and now it was being abandoned. Epic introduced the Ventures system in July as a final major feature, which was just a seasonal rotation of content designed to keep existing players engaged with minimal development effort. It was sort of new content, but it was really just a lazy effort to keep people playing. And that was the last update that Save the World ever got. Now it just cycles through these ventures to eternity. Today, Save the World exists in a strange limbo. The servers are still online, and a dedicated but dwindling community continues to play on it. The game runs on these automated seasonal schedules, cycling through existing content and rewards. New players can still purchase and play through the main campaign.
If Save the World is still making money, they really don't have a point. There's really no point in shutting off the servers. Like, if people are still buying the game and spending money in order to open loot crates and whatnot, there's really no point in them just pulling the plug on it. So I can't really blame them for just keeping it alive instead of shutting it off.
But they'll find an experience that feels frozen in time. The game still suffers from long-standing bugs and performance issues that will likely never be fixed. The promised Twine Peaks story remains unfinished, leaving the narrative on an eternal cliffhanger. While the core gameplay loop remains engaging, the lack of new content has led to a...
That is pretty buns. Fortnite Battle Royale has had like 3 storylines. How can you not finish the main story, or not even, I guess, I don't know if it's a main storyline, but how can you not finish the storylines in Save the World, which was literally the selling point initially, the initial selling point of Fortnite? Like, just send a dedicated team of like 10 people to do it.
Stagnant in-game experience. Where there were once hundreds of thousands of players, now a dedicated core of perhaps 10 to 20,000 keep the mission boards alive. But it's undeniable. Save the World never reached its full potential, and today it is basically dead.
It's crazy that there's some Fortnite creative maps out there with more players than Fortnite's own Save the World. Like, there's some Fortnite creative maps that go Insano style, like 20k players, and Save the World has 9.6. Holy.
Dead. Early supporters who paid for Founders Packs feel particularly betrayed by Epic's broken promises of future content and a free-to-play release, but Save the World will forever live on in the hearts of everyone who enjoyed it and cheered for its future. A future that will probably never come. Did you ever play Save the World? Did you like it? Was it something that you were involved in before Battle Royale got popular, or did you just now hear about it? Let me know your thoughts on all of this in the comments.
W video. Robocast. W video. All right. Let's get on to some horror games.